Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to another reaction. Today we have an interesting one because the person who uploaded and made this one is the one who requested it. So this is Silver Rose's Undertale Time Paradox Out of Time. I'm not entirely sure what to expect with this. I don't pay attention to anything Undertale, especially these days. I know of the game, I've seen it played, I've never played it myself, but I've seen enough of the game to know everything about the main story. But as far as like alternate universe stuff goes, I have no clue. But all I know is this is somebody who wants me to give their song a listen. I told them I was going to rip them a new one as a joke. They said that was fine, and also that I should pay attention to the clock ticks in this song. So whatever that means, I'm about to find out, and without further ado, let's go! Ah, yes. The default horns. Yep. I mean, I can obviously hear the inspiration of the sound font from Undertale. That's pretty obvious. Just in general, a lot of Megalovania DNA in here. Especially that 3-hit crash. That. I mean, it's not bad. I hear you trying to share those motifs in there. But they're just a little bit different, aren't they? I did not anticipate a halftime break here. Good way to handle it though. Removing some elements and keeping like the rhythm stuff. That's one of the best, safest ways to do a halftime. Even more Megalovania. A little bit more directly this time. So I assume the clock tick thing is just because that's basically the start of every measure as the notes shift. Just landing on the main beat for speed of each measure. Had a little fun with the edit there too, I saw that. It's an interesting sound in there. Is that like a sound effect from the game? It might be. It might be distorted. Can't quite tell. It has been a decade since I've seen anything with this game, basically. Double timing the clocks. Okay. I miss that the first time? I might have. I don't think I did, though. That might be new. I do love the legally distinct, like, Undertale themes in here. Back down to the main beat. The detuning is a nice touch. That is a nice touch. All right. Not too shabby. Obviously, there are going to be things that I will be talking about as far as criticizing goes, but I've heard worse. I don't want that to sound like it's a bad thing. When I say I've heard worse, I mean that very literally, and that doesn't mean that like, oh man, this song is god-awful, but I've heard worse. This is definitely more of a, okay, I see the point, I see the approach, I see the clever shit you're doing, I get it. But at the same time, you can definitely tell there are a lot of technical issues in here that are basically just by somebody who hasn't had the time to figure out all of those, and that's going to happen to any new musician. That'll happen to me when I start trying to do my own music things as well. I might know a lot of stuff, but being able to apply it is a way different argument, and usually why I hire people to handle stuff like that for me, because I'm not that good at it, and I'm very aware of that. But also, unlike people who upload things in general and try to figure that out from square one, I cheat by using my wallet, which is arguably the worst option, instead of just fucking knuckling down and doing it myself. So props to Silver Rose for actually doing that, just like any other musician who starts out doing that. I just got into it too late in the game, and now I'm like, man, I don't want to have to learn all that shit. But again, props to those who do. In general, as far as this goes, there are plenty of moments in the song that I'm like, okay, I see the point, I see what you're going for, I see what you're trying to allude to in the themes, using those legally distinct versions of the songs, which I understand, because from what I get, Toby can be a little bit of a stinker when it comes to his IP, especially his music, being utilized in basically anything. So I think taking this approach of trying to use like legally distinct variants of the themes that we all know is a very good way to get around that, because otherwise you might not actually be able to put it out there when the song itself seems very heavily, obviously, inspired by that, and probably an AU that has something to do with it. So there's also the in-context potential that variations of the theme kind of make sense, like in a multiversal sort of way, where it just like, yeah, you know, butterfly effect the whole universe. You might have Toby write these other variations, or in the universe of the game, the theme is slightly different because alternate worlds will have those differences. That's probably overthinking it, but the point is there is a reason that could exist for these themes being a little bit different, and I think it fits totally fine. In general, I do think there was a little bit too much going on a lot of the time. Mostly, I think that could have been fixed by proper mixing and balancing. I heard that you were trying to use things like panning with the symbols and everything, but everything else kind of felt smushed into the center, and I couldn't really tell where things were supposed to be for a lot of the lower end stuff. A lot of the supportive synths seemed to just kind of be fighting for room in the dead center. So not saying you have to pan everything left and right to be able to fix that. A lot of that would just be figuring out the post process of mixing and mastering a little bit more to save yourself from all of this like sonic garbage that's underneath it. And again, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It happens to anyone who's starting out with mixing and trying to figure out how all these frequencies work together, but it's going to come through experience and trying to actually fix those and approach those from a different perspective. perspective instead of just throwing everything at the center channel and hoping it'll all work out. Usually that's what results in this sort of mud in the song. There's too many frequencies taking up one spot in those frequency ranges, and you need to clear out some of those or straight up remove different layers depending on what's going wrong in the actual project. There are plenty of things that could be going wrong that could lead to that mud in a mix, but the core thing is make sure you're not doing too much layering of these like lower end synths. And also, if that's not a problem and you're only using one or two, move some things out of the way, cut some certain frequencies, add some bends in the EQs just to get things out of the way, ones that you know you don't need. Like if you're not using it for a bass, get rid of a lot of the low end, like 200 and below it. Don't use those for certain synths. And then for other things that are a little bit higher end, give them a higher boost in like the 5K range, you know, stuff like that. All this technical stuff that again will come in time and with experience, looking it up, figuring it out, having to play around with it and try different things is probably the biggest slog when it comes to mixing, and why I cheat and hand money to somebody to do that for me when I know that's not realistic for a lot of people and we're not expecting it to. That's also why I respect people who handle post-processing so much, because it is a pain in the ass to figure out how to do that right, especially with so many variables that I'm too lazy to figure it out. At least in a perfect world, I do my drum one and that's not perfect. It probably never will be. But aside from that, I thought this was really well done. I didn't anticipate things like that halftime in there. I was like, oh, hey, I love me a halftime. As probably most of you know watching this, I adore having a good halftime in there. And because I didn't expect it to be there, it hit a little bit harder than I expected it to because I didn't expect it. So that felt good when that happened, and all of the other evolution of the songs felt really nice. I think the only part that I didn't really love was like the crashes bouncing between the ears, just because that is a little disorienting, especially when it's happening so often and for so long in the song. It's like, oh, I'm over here. Nope, no, we're here. You know, it just gets a little bit messy in the top end, but that's the sort of thing where you don't have to pan it fully to one side or the other, and that felt largely what was happening here. Like it was at least 90% in the left and right, when it could be like more to like the 60-40 split, and that way you're getting a little bit more information in both ears, but obviously much more focused in one ear than the other. You got to find those balances, because if not, then you do have this moment of like getting your head jostled around, like, why am I listening to multiple spots in the song? And if that's something you want to keep in the song, then take it and move it back in the head too, because like up here right in the front, I was hearing it here, I was hearing it here, and it's like, that's great, but also it's probably the worst, like most disorienting spot to have things like crash cymbals. I would move them further back into the mix behind a few more things. A lot of DAWs these days do have the ability to like pull back the sound further into the head instead of like pushing it straight out to the front and just using the left and right space. There is a little bit of like spatial awareness in mixing these days. Like even DaVinci, for example, has that ability. So it's definitely something that is free and available, and definitely something worth messing around with if you can find a VST that does that, if there's not one already built into your DAW of choice. But again, that's one of the only things about this song that I was like, kind of just in general iffy on. The rest of it, actually pretty good. I thought the handling of how the melody was going, as I mentioned, the whole like trying to use royalty-free variations, totally understandable, but the overall composition was fun. It was fine, honestly. It didn't have any other issues with it. The chords all made sense. The way that it was structured throughout, the melody line in general, just worked. You know, it wasn't trying to do anything super fancy or anything like that, but it doesn't need to either, because the bulk of it was using those other royalty-free variants to be able to fill in that sort of like recognizable space for the lead. So having everything else be a little bit more simple and just kind of be standard chord progressions, that is totally fine. That's exactly what a rhythm section should be, and that's effectively what most of the song was underneath a lot of the other stuff. And even the more original lead stuff that was in here that was tying it all together was still stuff that was like clearly inspired by, but not straight up ripping off of Toby's work. So again, you just made it work, and that's fantastic. So, you know, hats off to you, Silver. Fantastic work there. Just it's all technical, really. Most of what I have to critique about this one has been technical, and that's probably what it will be for a while, since that is the most common denominator when it comes to new musicians getting into it, you know? That's the part that sucks. That's the part that nobody wants to deal with. That's the part that I don't deal with, you know? We all have those one or two things when it comes to composition that we're like, man, I'm really not that great at this part. But That's what time and practice is for. But the only other thing I would maybe say, and this is again kind of iffy because a lot of it was based on the Undertale sound, maybe get some better libraries for things like the default horns, etc. Like, there are definitely good free options out there for brass and other pianos and everything, but it also depends on what your DAW is and if they support those. But if it supports VSTs, there are so many options out there that sound higher quality and have more depth to them, so they'll sound more rich and more creatively freeing when you use them. But that's largely up to you. Again, for this one, it kind of worked because it was supposed to sound more simple, like what Undertale does sound like. So really not a problem here, but definitely food for thought if you're looking into getting a little bit more deep into it. I haven't heard anything else you've done, obviously, so I don't know what else you have in store, but I think that's about all I gotta say here. Thank you all so very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and you want me to get to something else, by all means, drop in the comments below and I will do my best as always to get to those. Or if, like Silver did for this one, you want to guarantee that I listen to something, you can always go to my Patreon or my YouTube memberships, where there's a tier that will force me to listen to whatever you want. Doesn't matter what it's from, who it's by, if it's good or bad. It can be your own, obviously. Whatever it may be, you can do that there. And if you don't want to do any of that, maybe just want to follow me and support me for more stuff coming in the future, you know how to do all that. And I will see all of you in the next video. Goodbye!